Have you ever wondered what lies beneath your feet? Not just the soil or the pavement, but miles and miles of rock that make up the very surface of our planet. Today, we're going on an epic journey to explore the Earth's crust, the dynamic, ever-changing shell that we call home. It's a world of immense pressure, blistering heat, and geological drama that has shaped our planet for billions of years. So, buckle up! Because we're about to dive deep into the fascinating science of the ground we walk on. First things first, what exactly is the Earth's crust? Imagine our planet as a giant peach. The thin, fuzzy skin would be the crust. It's the outermost solid layer of the Earth. And compared to the other layers, it's incredibly thin. On average, it's only about 25 miles thick under the continents and even thinner. Just about 4 miles thick under the oceans. To put that into perspective, if the Earth were the size of an apple, the crust would be thinner than the apple's skin. Yet, everything we know, every mountain we've climbed, every ocean we've sailed, exists on this delicate layer. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. The crust isn't one solid, unbroken piece. It's fractured into several massive slabs of rock called tectonic plates. These plates are constantly on the move, drifting across the semi-molten layer beneath them, the mantle, at about the same speed your fingernails grow. This slow, relentless dance is what drives almost all of the geological activity on our planet. It's a concept known as plate tectonics, and it's the master key to understanding earthquakes, volcanoes, and the very shape of our continents. There are two main types of crusts, oceanic and continental. As their name suggests, oceanic crust is found at the bottom of our oceans, while continental crust makes up the land masses. They're not just different in location, they're different in composition and density too. Oceanic crust is mostly made of a dense, dark, volcanic rock called basalt. It's relatively young, geologically speaking, because it's constantly being created at mid-ocean ridges. These are underwater mountain ranges where tectonic plates are pulling apart, allowing magma from the mantle to rise, cool, and form new crust. Think of it as a giant, slow-motion conveyor belt. Continental crust, on the other hand, is much thicker, less dense, and a lot older. It's primarily made of granite, a lighter, colored rock. Because it's less dense, it floats higher on the mantle than the oceanic crust, which is why we have continents rising above the sea. Some of the rocks in the continental crust are incredibly ancient, over 4 billion years old, giving us a peek into the Earth's earliest history. Unlike oceanic crust, continental crust is rarely destroyed. It's just too buoyant to be easily pulled back down into the mantle. So what happens when these massive plates interact? That's where the real action begins. There are 3 main ways plates can meet. First, they can pull apart, which we call a divergent boundary. We already mentioned this with the mid-ocean ridges creating new oceanic crust. This process, known as seafloor spreading, is literally making our oceans wider. The Mid-Atlantic Ridge is a perfect example, slowly pushing the Americas away from Europe and Africa. Second, plates can slide past each other horizontally. This is a transform boundary. The immense friction between the rough edges of the plates means they don't slide smoothly. Instead, stress builds up over years, decades, or even centuries until it's suddenly released in a violent jolt. This sudden release of energy is what we experience as an earthquake. The San Andreas Fault in California is probably the most famous transform boundary in the world, marking the line where the Pacific Plate is grinding past the North American Plate. Third and most dramatic type of interaction is a convergent boundary, where 2 plates collide head-on. What happens next depends on the types of crust involved. When a dense oceanic plate collides with a less dense continental plate, the oceanic plate is forced to bend and slide beneath the continental plate. This process is called subduction. As the oceanic plate sinks into the mantle, it melts, creating magma. This molten rock is less dense than the surrounding material, so it rises to the surface. often resulting in a chain of explosive volcanoes on the continent. The Andes Mountains and the Ring of Fire around the Pacific Ocean are classic examples of subduction zones at work. But what happens when two continental plates collide? Since both are relatively light and buoyant, neither wants to subduct. Instead, they have nowhere to go but up. The crust buckles, folds, and thickens, pushing up enormous mountain ranges. The collision between the Indian plate and the Eurasian plate, which began about 50 million years ago, is the perfect example. This ongoing cosmic fender bender is responsible for creating the mightiest mountain range on Earth, the Himalayas, which are still growing taller today. This constant recycling and reshaping of the Earth's crust is part of a grand cycle known as the rock cycle. Rocks are not static. They are constantly being transformed. Igneous rocks are formed from cooling magma, like the basalt at Mid-Ocean Ridge. Over time, wind and water erode these rocks into tiny particles called sediment. This sediment gets washed into rivers and oceans, settling in layers that eventually get compacted and cemented together to form sedimentary rocks, like sandstone. If these rocks get buried deep enough, heat and pressure can morph them into metamorphic rocks, like marble. And if the heat is intense enough, they can melt back into magma, starting the entire cycle all over again. The crust isn't just a stage for geological drama, it's also the source of nearly all the resources that sustain our civilization. We mine it for metals like iron, copper, and gold. We drill into it for fossil fuels like oil, coal, and natural gas, which are the remnants of ancient life buried and transformed over millions of years. The very soil we use for agriculture is a product of the weathering of crustal rocks. In essence, the Earth's crust provides the raw materials for our homes, our technology, and our energy. Understanding the crust is also crucial for our safety. By studying plate tectonics, seismologists can identify areas at high risk for earthquakes and help design buildings that can withstand them. Volcanologists monitor active volcanoes, looking for signs of an impending eruption to provide early warnings for nearby communities. Our knowledge of the crust allows us to better prepare for and mitigate the powerful forces that are constantly at work beneath our feet, from the deepest ocean trenches to the highest mountain peaks. The Earth's crust is a place of incredible diversity and dynamism. It's a thin, fragile layer, but it's also powerful enough to build mountains and move continents. It's a history book, a resource library, and a constant reminder that the planet we live on is a living, breathing entity. The next time you walk outside, take a moment to think about the incredible world churning slowly beneath you. A world of fire and pressure that has shaped everything you see. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the Earth's crust. It's a massive topic, and we've only scratched the surface. No pun intended. If you found this journey as fascinating as I do, hit that like button and subscribe for more adventures into the world of science. Let me know in the comments what part of Earth's geology you'd like to explore next. Until then, stay curious.